guys, just a quick heads up. My sound is going to be a little bit weird in this. We are trying to fix my mic issue, and now the mic on my computer, which I'd been using, which is okay-ish, is starting to get weird. So if you could sound off in the comments and let me know if the sound gets weird, what it sounds like to you, and the timestamps. We're trying to fix this with having no money to fix it. So if you could do that for me, I'd really appreciate it. And also guys, if you could help me out and support this channel so I can grow and give you guys $100 gift cards again, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and hit notifications if you haven't yet so you can be notified what's coming to the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also comment, sound off, as many comments you can, the better, the more the better. I appreciate multiple comments, and share this content with as many people as you think that it could help, because I've got lots of tools and resources to help people. Find me on Facebook, Katie's Insight, like the page, join the group, which is Katie's Corner, will be changed to Katie's Insight. Go in there, ask all the stimulus questions you want. Okay, on with my little show. Hi guys, and welcome to Katie's Insight, where on this channel I give my insight on all kinds of things, whether it's news, politics, current events, business, finance, entertainment, or most importantly right now, it's stimulus. So we're going to keep on the stimulus bandwagon so you know exactly what's coming out of the pipeline for you and what you are getting. So if you saw my videos from yesterday, if you haven't, go check them out. Pretty good stuff, at least I think. If you saw those videos yesterday, then you know when it comes to stimulus, we have some interesting things going on. So here's where we are at. Right now, everything is just stalled within the Congress. As we know, Nancy Pelosi passed a $2.2 trillion, slimmed down, the timing is shorter, HEROES Act bill, and she passed that recently within the last week or so within the House. The Senate, as we know, has said it's dead on arrival. So what's the point of doing it? Well, now we have behind the scenes, once again, talks have restarted, mostly between Pelosi and Mnuchin. As we know, Mnuchin is kind of the, I look at him as, when I say the underdog, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I feel like he's the fighting underdog. Underdog only in the sense of he doesn't claim to be Democrat or Republican, and it's always interesting to watch people speculate on which party line he falls into, because people do it with me all the time, and I'm like, you can be neither. You can be a free thinker and just want the best for people and see they're all full of crap. Maybe not. Maybe there is some hidden agenda conspiracy, because I've heard he is a Republican because he goes with Trump, but then I've heard he's a hidden Democrat because blah, 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 blah. Just like a lot of people like to speculate on this channel about me, which is fine, booze. You are more than welcome to. I put myself out there. I open myself for speculation. It is okay. But I'm being honest in that I don't toe any party line. Like, if you were to ask, when I was younger, I was considered an extreme liberal, and now I'm considered an extreme conservative, although in both instances, I never thought that I was. Allowing the LGBT to get married and be on each other's insurance, and when they are passing to be in the hospital, I think is just a human right. But that alone made me an extreme leftist back in the 90s. I know I'm that old, y'all. By the way, somebody asked how old I was, because they were like, so you've had all these illnesses, but you've traveled all over the world and lived in different places. You've done all these things with business. And how old are you? I'm 36. Y'all, I feel like I've lived 10 lives in one. I'm not trying to be a braggart. I'm just somebody who's had a very non-conventional life in many ways. But that's what I love. I love adventure. I love challenges. I love excitement. A lot of that has obviously had to calm down. I say it's calmed down in different ways, but then being sick, I threw myself on YouTube. By the way, you guys pointed this out in the comments. So did my assistant, and so did my boyfriend. I keep slamming my hand on the desk because I'm so irritated with everything. Also, y'all, if you see Alice Getter in the comments, that's my girl. That's my assistant. I don't even like calling her my assistant. She's my manager. Like, when I say manager, she manages everything for me. She is amazing. Like, she's my lifeline. I couldn't do this without her. She's wonderful, and she has been in the comments a lot more saying hi to everybody, so make sure everybody do a big hi to Alice, and you'll probably get a comment back. She's the sweetest person you will ever meet. We heart Alice! Lots of Alice hearts. Y'all stand up in the comments, Alice hearts. But, okay, so, if you saw the videos from yesterday, this is where we were at. They were talking behind closed doors. So, she's at $2.2 trillion. It was between $3 to $4 trillion before. She came down, but in the negotiations, guys, she isn't really negotiating. She's just shortening time frames, which to me is kind of a cheat. Whatever, but that's what's happening. So where are we at right now? Here's where things are. Trump said, I'm so tired from even talking about it. I don't even want to go into it. Like, aren't you guys tired? Like, I was going to say, aren't you guys tired of this? I know you're tired. I don't have to ask you. I know you're tired of this. So if I look exhausted lately, I'm just so fed up with these people. Trump earlier this week tweeted, I'm canceling stimulus talks. 2 hours later, try to put pressure in a tweet and say, Nancy, I'm ready to sign checks, get it done.
The next day, he goes off and he says, we're only doing a skinny bill to I only want a big bill. Within like a 24-hour period. It's nuts. But then Nancy Pelosi, in the process, decides, I'm not going to focus on helping the American people. I'm going to pass the 25th Amendment bill, which I still haven't gotten into. Guys, long story short, this is a bill that's supposed to go after President Trump and attack his mental and cognitive fitness, which I'm going to have a whole video, I think, coming up of is Trump a sociopath and a narcissist, and is he mentally unfit to lead? I want to do a video about this and see what you guys think, because I think I have some interesting perspectives on this topic in a few different ways. It's stuff I've kind of alluded to or talked a little bit about in videos, but I want to package all in one, because I hear he's a megalomaniac, he's a narcissist, he's a sociopath, or he's just crazy, unfit to lead. I want to go into that. I want to kind of dive into that minutia of that and really examine those things. But here's where we're at. Trump then approved, very big deal on Friday, he approves a bill between 1.8 to 1.9 trillion, meaning we're like 300, 400 billion away from getting a deal. Can you imagine even having a fraction of those billions? It's kind of disgusting that we're like, it's so close and it's hundreds of billions. That's government for you. But so here's where we are at with everything. So he put this out and we've been waiting for a response from good old Nance. And we have one. And I read it off yesterday, part of it. She did a long, scathing letter, basically saying, not gonna do it. But then, we've got more info. I've got an article of information pulled up. Y'all, at this point, for us to get help, Trump is gonna have to do some emergency executive orders, but is he gonna do it this soon before the election? He could. Remember, Trump loves them wild cards.
Okay, guys, and heads up if you didn't hear it, I'm having some mic issues. Y'all know I've been working on this, and right now, I don't really have the money to replace equipment because of my situation, so I'm sorry if there's a little continuity or not continuity with the sound. I'm trying my mic again. Sound off in the comments if it's bad. My apologies, y'all. Just stick with me, and my broke is a joke, but while I figure this out. But I wanted to go ahead and pull up some information for you guys. This is from CNBC. Y'all ready? Democrats and Republicans dismiss Trump's virus stimulus offer, dimming hopes for a deal. That's right. Trump came up to 1.9 trillion and Nancy took a big old blowout, quivering crap all over it. Let's look at what this says. It says the White House on Friday increased its offer to 1.8 trillion, nearly double the original offer from the administration where talks began in late summer. This proposal amounted to one step forward, two steps back, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said of the Trump administration's stimulus offer. Senate Republicans expressed opposition in a Saturday morning call with the Treasury Secretary, Steven Mnuchin, and White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. And it says, the U.S. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, leaves after her weekly press briefing on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And it says Democrats in the House and Republicans in the Senate expressed opposition Saturday to the President Donald Trump's 1.8 trillion virus stimulus offer, further complicating a week of already confusing negotiations and dimming hopes for a deal before Election Day. The White House offer nearly doubles the original proposal from Republicans, where talks began in late summer, but is about $400 billion less than the $2.2 trillion bill Democrats previously passed, leaving party leaders in Congress on both sides unhappy. This proposal amounted to one step forward, two steps back. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said of the Trump administration's stimulus offer in a letter to her members Saturday, the one that I read off yesterday. When the president talks about wanting a bigger relief package, his proposal appears to mean that he wants more money at his discretion to grant or withhold, rather than agreeing on language prescribing how we honor our workers, crush the virus, and put money in the pockets of workers, Pelosi said. Congress has failed to pass new aid for months as the virus continues to spread across the country and economic recovery slows, which, by the way, she's the one that wants to be able just to spend recklessly on state and local to set her state on fire. The White House offer includes the following according to NBC News. State and local government, $300 billion. Unemployment insurance, $400 per week through the third week of January and retroactive to September 12th. Liability protection for businesses. Stimulus checks, $1,200 for adults and $1,000 per child. Airlines are $20 billion. PPP loans are $330 billion. Minority lending, $10 billion. Testing, tracing, treatment, vaccine, and healthcare providers. Every time I hear that, it's going to go teachers. Pelosi. $175 billion. Education, $150 billion. Student loan forgiveness, $25 billion. Food assistance, $15 billion. Childcare, $25 billion. Postal service, $10 billion. Employee retention tax credit, $91 billion. Lodging industry, $20 billion, and broadband, $15 billion. Pelosi said that the administration's proposal lacks a strategic plan to contain the spread of the virus and has inadequate funding for state and local governments, as well as financial relief for Americans, even though their stimulus plan doesn't go far enough. One thing they are leaving out is that when it comes to stimulus checks, Trump was wanting to do, instead of $500 for dependent, $1,000, where Pelosi wants to keep it at $500, and of course there's only a one-time round of payments. Makes me so mad when she acts like they're for the American people. No, you're not. I think those chemicals in the hair are getting in the way, girl. So it says, as the election day approaches, Pelosi has called for a deal that reinstates the $600 per week supplemental unemployment benefits that ended in July, and much more money for childcare than what the administration is offering. Despite these unaddressed concerns, I remain hopeful that yesterday's developments will move us closer to an agreement on a relief package that addresses the health and economic crisis facing America's families, Pelosi said. Senate Republicans also expressed opposition to the administration offer in a Saturday morning call with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, sources told NBC News. They hated the package, one source said. Republicans don't like the price tag and some of the policy areas. They took issue with what they described as Democrat demands to provide maximum health insurance subsidies to any new Affordable Health Care Act enrollee as part of an agreement, one source said. And that is a big point of contention because the Republicans want to do away with the Affordable Health Care Act, but the Democrats think it's fantastic. I would be fine to do away with it if they put something in place that actually worked, like actual universal health care, because as we know, the Affordable Care Act didn't do what it was promised. Basically, it forced people to pay a ton of money in insurance that they couldn't, and then didn't cover much of anything, because welcome to the United States, where we're just screwing everybody left and right, not in a fun way. As the election day approaches, it's unclear if Congress will have time to produce a pandemic relief bill and push it through the Republican-held Senate, which is moving quickly to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Friday that a stimulus package is unlikely in the next 3 weeks. And Larry Kudlow, Trump's top economic advisor, said on Sunday morning that the president might go beyond the numbers that Democrats have called for in their stimulus proposal for certain key targeted areas. Kudlow also said he thinks Senate Republicans who are opposed to the $1.8 trillion proposal from the White House will ultimately agree to a final deal. I think if an agreement can be reached, they will go along with it, Kudlow said on the Senate GOP in an interview on CNN. Kudlow also said that he doesn't think an economic recovery is dependent on another stimulus deal. However, Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve chair, warned several days ago that too little support would lead to a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses. Trump, who called off talks several days ago, now says he's changed his position on approving more virus aid before the November election, like we talked about. So it says telling right-wing radio host Rush Limbaugh that I would like to see a bigger stimulus package, frankly, more than the Democrats or Republicans are offering, because with him it's always bigger, better, huger. However, White House Communications Director Alyssa Farah later told reporters that the administration wants a package that costs below $2 trillion, which would be less than the $2.2 trillion bill from Democrats that they have proposed. Okay, guys, so that's going to be that one. But then I also have another article that I want to pull up that goes a little more into detail on what's going on. So basically what this is saying is both Democrats and Republicans are rejecting the bill, which is not very good for our situation. So he puts a bill out that nobody wants, which is why I keep saying, like, we're going to have executive. I don't see how we're going to get this done without executive orders before the election, but is Trump going to step up and do it? In his mind, which we have to try to get in his mind and look at, are the optics good enough for him to do? Which I'll get into in a little bit later because I could see it going both ways, and we'll get in there. I'm not 100% sure on this one. A lot of times I can read and I can feel where it's going. Not 100% sure on this one, and really they probably aren't either at this point either because of some different variables. But let's go ahead and look at this. So from the Washington Post, prospects for more stimulus checks and virus relief fade as the latest offer from Trump draws opposition from Republicans and Democrats. The Senate Republicans voiced concerns about the $1.8 trillion aid package in a call with Mnuchin and Meadows. So this is about the call. So if you guys remember, they said they were on a call, right? Pelosi was on a call, Mnuchin and Meadows were on a call with Republicans. I want to go into details on what that call looks like. Senate Republicans and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi raised intense objections Saturday to a new $1.8 trillion economic relief proposal that the Trump administration greatly dimming prospects for a virus relief deal before the election. On a conference call Saturday morning with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, multiple GOP senators denounced the proposal, attacking the price tag as too big, questioning the overall direction, and criticizing individual proposals, according to several people who participated in the call or were briefed on its contents. They spoke on the condition of anonymity to details in the private discussion. Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming called a proposal expansion of the Affordable Care Act tax credit to its unemployed an enormous betrayal of the GOP's longstanding opposition to the Affordable Care Act, which I will agree only in the sense of, yes, that's a correct point that they really don't want the Affordable Care Act. But what bothers me is neither do they want anything in place. They'd rather us starve and die. But I also agree the Affordable Health Care Act is crap. Says, I don't get it. Says Senator Rick Scott of the giant spending proposal that incorporates a number of Democratic priorities that are anathema to the GOP. Senator Marsha Blackburn predicted the advancing such legislation would prove the death knell of the GOP majority. What's a death knell, y'all? That's something that I would need to Google that I just am too lazy to. The death knell. I'm sorry, it sounds so, these people are so dramatic sometimes, but then when they need to actually act on things that are dramatic, like us not starving, they don't care. It's like blowing raspberries at us. All right, here we go. Senator Mike Lee said that the deal could complicate floor timing as the Senate tries to fill the Supreme Court vacancy this month and hurt Republicans at the ballot box because the Supreme Court fight would no longer be front and center. The opposition was so fierce that Meadows told the group at one point, "You all will have to come to my funeral." They're so dramatic. They did the stopgap. These MFers have all the money in the world at their disposal. And he says, you'll have to come to my funeral. How about all the other people that are dying because they can't afford medications, can't feed themselves, stay in their homes? What about their sick kids who can't get their medications and can't have a home to be in right now? You know, stress makes your health worse, right, guys? Anyways, the opposition was so fierce that Meadows told the group at one point, you will all have to come to my funeral, because he would have to take their message back to President Trump. The president has begun pushing aggressively for a big new spending deal he hopes could boost his re-election chances, reverse course after he pulled the plug on talks earlier this week. Mnuchin sent the White House's latest offer on Friday. And you guys remember the big thing with the Republicans. They cannot get on the same page with anything. That's the big issue with the Republicans. That's why they couldn't get anything passed in the Senate after they had passed the HEROES Act. Remember, they sat on it for 3 months with Mitch McConnell. Wait and see, Mitch McConnell. They just sat with it. So it's really funny to hear Meadows go, you will all have to come to my funeral, because Meadows is going to have to go to the president and be like, no go. But at the same time, like, did they really expect any different? Not to be rude, but is Trump's ego that big that he thought, well, if I put it out there, the Senate's going to say yes? Because let's remember, even though he does have support in the Senate, a lot of those senators don't like him. A lot of the Republicans are furious that he even got in the first place because he's not really part of the GOP. He's not really like one of the good old boys in there because he does things differently and he's unpredictable, which makes both sides kind of dislike him, which is one of the reasons I think, even though he does stupid stuff and says stupid stuff, I think Americans tend to like him because he goes against both party lines. And it's not that people think, like people that are like me, it's not that they think he's perfect or that he shouldn't be held accountable. It's like, well, let's try something different, is how I look at it. But I do think it's funny that Mark is, he's worried about having his tail between his legs to go back to the president. But that's the thing. The president can make all the deals he wants with Pelosi and Schumer. But if the Senate doesn't pick it up and pass it, it doesn't matter, which again, executive orders. I'm just going to keep saying it because I think at this point, I don't think there is a choice. Otherwise, if the president wants to pull out that big W before the election. Almost at the same moment, Senate Republicans were on a conference call. Pelosi released a letter to House Democrats that signaled the White House's proposal would need significant changes and that it took one step forward, two steps back. Because that's another thing, guys. Remember, you have to have enough Republicans on board and enough Democrats. So the fact that he's got what sounds like from this article neither support is not good. Pelosi said, the president's offer did not contain enough spending for unemployment insurance, state and local aid, child care, or other Democratic priorities. She said it also includes reckless language on liability protections for businesses and others. House Democrats have been pushing legislation with a $2.2 trillion price tag. When the president talks about wanting a bigger relief package, his proposal appears to mean that he wants more money at his discretion to grant or withhold, rather than agreeing on language prescribing how we honor our workers. Crush the virus, as she says, and put money in the pockets of workers, Pelosi wrote. Nonetheless, Pelosi wrote that she remained hopeful the two sides would find an agreement on a relief package that addresses the health and economic crisis facing America's families, given Senate GOP opposition. However, it was unclear there was much basis for optimism. And this makes me mad because I'm going to call this out. I think this is a lie. At this point, the more time goes on, the more evidence is showing me I don't think Pelosi, Schumer, or any of the Democrats, I don't think they intend to pass anything until after the election. I think they are stringing Trump and his administration along to make it look like, oh, we're close, we're gonna do it, just to back out. Like at this point, I think they could hand them everything and Pelosi's gonna say no because she doesn't want to do anything that could make Trump look good before the end of the election, which, you know, it's just children on the playground, you know, just spit wads at each other at this point. Like that's what I liken this to. And then when people are called out, well, he started it, what he does. Can you guys just get it together and help people? Like I'm having a hard time even keeping optimistic at this point, guys. So Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell already had voiced skepticism about the prospect for passing a new virus bill ahead of the election. White House and Treasury Secretary officials did not respond to requests for comment on Pelosi's letter or on the concerns being raised by the Senate Republicans. Of course not. Hopefully we are going to hear something Monday, but I think they're taking this weekend to try to regroup and kind of see where they're at. And then probably this week, we're going to have a media blitz about the stimulus, and then we're going to see it from both sides. That's just me looking at how this stuff typically goes. Saturday's developments left uncertain whether they will have a path forward for a new relief bill. Despite millions out of work and multiple signs that economic recovery has slowed. Fed Reserve Chair Jerome H. Powell warned just days ago that without the additional stimulus, there could be a weak recovery, creating unnecessary hardship for households and businesses, as we have heard. Congress passed 4 bipartisan bills, totaling an unprecedented $3 trillion in new spending in March and April, but since then, lawmakers have failed to reach any new agreement, and many of the programs approved in the spring have since expired. Talks have revived only to fall apart again several times. After announcing Tuesday he was ordering Mnuchin to stop negotiating with Pelosi, Trump changed course after the stock market sunk, and some Republicans facing tough re-election races questioned his move. Senator Susan Collins, one of the most endangered Republican senators in November, they call her endangered, that's funny, was among a small handful of senators who spoke up on Saturday's call in favor of a new relief bill, though not necessarily the specific deal Mnuchin has offered Pelosi. People familiar with the call said. The proposal includes provisions that many and both parties support, including, as we said, the new round of $1,200 stimulus checks, small business support, and aid to airlines that have begun mass furloughs. That's right. We now have more tens of thousands of people on unemployment. And federal aid expires September 30th. After that, federal aid expired then. But in other areas, including unemployment insurance, the two sides are far apart on a price tag, with Democrats supporting $600 weekly unemployment benefits, while the administration's proposal provides for only $400. The new administration offer includes $300 billion in state and local aid, an increase from $250 billion in an early proposal. But it still falls short of what Democrats want. While at the same time, it's too much money for many Republicans to swallow. Excessive state and local aid spending was another concern voiced by GOP senators on Saturday's call. Overall, Senator Lamar Alexander told Meadows and Mnuchin Saturday there's not much appetite to spend at the levels proposed by the administration. Additionally, the administration proposed included some items that Republicans view as poison pills. Remember that one? There's poison pills all over it, says Pelosi. Republicans say the expansion of the Affordable Care Act raises concerns about taxpayer funding, of ladies having the right to choose what to do with their bodies in a way that could be harmful to other life. Because I'm by the way, I'm shortening this phrase because I don't want YouTube to get in trouble with me. Because as women, we don't have enough good healthcare options, and men, they don't have to have any of the burden or responsibility. Don't you love that? I know I've said this in several videos, but it's driving me nuts, guys. It's driving me nuts that, okay, so you have to end the life of something, or you have to be burdened with something that you might not be able to do or physically can do. What if we just have better healthcare options for women and men? How about that? Then again, it's all about reframing the arguments. I keep saying this, but I'm keep screaming it. Every time you see these arguments from the extremists, remember there's probably a middle ground where those arguments don't even matter. Because that's what happens when you take your focus on getting solutions, which our government doesn't have. Because, if we had solutions, then all of these people in the government and the corporations that are in their pockets wouldn't make money. Because these people are lost and soulless, in my opinion. So it says, I'll read it again. Additionally, the administration proposal includes some items that Republicans view as poison pills. Actually, that's the Republicans now saying it, but that poison pills thing comes from Nancy. Republicans say the expansion of the Affordable Care Act raises concerns about taxpayers funding for women's right to choose, which is abysmal because of how limited our options are. Although Democrats dispute that interpretation of the provision, it would also allow certain undocumented immigrants to receive stimulus checks, another non-starter for many Republicans. And that's really interesting because, so this is what I was fine with, and I'll kind of break this down, and this is where, there's lies about this. So, we heard this in the HEROES Act, and, I know Tucker had went on, Tucker Carlson, and he lied about this, or I would say he misled the information. The Republicans put out there, they want everybody who's not documented to get a check, and we're not going to do. No, that's not it. You either have to have a TIN, an ITN number, and you have to pass a presence test. So what most of that means is that if you made a certain amount of money, you had been here a certain amount of time, and you were paying into our system, then you could get something for stimulus. And in that case, what's the issue? I don't see if that person is paying into our system, then what's the burden on us? Wouldn't helping them be helping our country too? I'm just going to throw it out there. Despite the strong opposition expressed to the most recent proposal offered by Mnuchin, many senators on call generally indicated they wanted Mnuchin and Pelosi to keep talking. According to people familiar with the discussion, well, of course they want them to keep talking because they're not going to get anything done themselves. I mean, the House can get unified in screwing us over, but the Republicans are real divided on how they're going to screw us over. My laughing is just from sheer frustration, y'all. So let's go into this. I want to go into what does all of this mean, right? Because this is all just a big pile of crap. As we know, this is just crap that nobody wants. And we need the help. We needed the help months ago. At this point, if we're going to get anything done, I'm of the firm belief we are not going to get anything passed by the Congress before the election. I feel like the Democrats continue to show their hand. They don't want anything passed. They will always find an excuse not to pass something in this situation, per my opinion, from what I am seeing. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're playing games because this is all a game of how to make the president look as bad as possible so we can go ahead and put comatose in there. We're going to go from crazy to comatose, y'all. And comatose, I guess, can be a bit crazy. Actually, he can be. Remember when, like, he was at I think he was, like, at some kind of factory or something, and a worker came up and they were asking questions, and he acted like he was, like, threatened to punch him in the face? Could you imagine? Okay, just throwing it out there. I don't care if you love Trump or hate Trump. Can you imagine if Trump was threatening to punch people in the face? But I can argue that because at his rallies, when he was, if you guys remember at the beginning in his rallies, when it was about like getting people out of there or protesters, I think, didn't he say stuff about like punch him in the face? I'll pay for your fine out. But then they get mad because apparently with Antifa, a lot of times Antifa, it's not so much that people are doing it because they care so much. We know this. They'll actually hire protesters and tell them, you know, try not to get caught, but if you do get caught, we'll post bail. So like, they're all awful. That's the whole point. My whole point is they're all awful. That's why I always do think it's interesting that on Trump's side, Trump's people will go, the left is Antifa and Antifa's violent. Trump's not violent. But he did tell people at his rallies to punch people in the face, and I've heard it. I've heard the argument, yeah, but he was being sarcastic. I get it, and if it was a joke, that's fine, but in his position, you've got to be really careful what you say, which is not his strong suit, which makes it so easy for the media to take him out of context, and then sometimes he don't. Sometimes he says stupid stuff, because it's what it is. Anyways, I'm just showing you both sides of a coin right now because we rarely hear, I feel like we just hear one extreme or the other shouting. Well, let's talk about both. Now, from my understanding, I think this time around, and since he's been president, I haven't really heard him even jokingly try to inflict violence on somebody, right? And I guess that's the other thing. There's a difference between making a sarcastic joke, if that's what it was, versus a whole organization that pays people to go be violent. So there is a bit of a difference, but I'm just trying to be fair and weigh that like both sides have done wrong, right? But at this point, here's my prediction. This is what I've been saying, and I'm probably going to continue to say this. If Trump wants to really clinch this election, because at this point, let's be honest, Democrats, if you're a Democrat and you're watching, sound off in the comments. Except for hating Trump, do you really like Biden? And if you do, let me know. Tell me what you like about him, what his policies are. Because I know I've heard he's going to raise taxes, but then it's only on people who make over $400,000. But then I've heard there's other loopholes in there. But I'm serious. Like if you lean left, and more power to you, do whatever you feel is right for you. Sound off in the comments, because almost everybody I know, I've heard so many stories, and I've even seen it on my own Facebook feed of like, well, Biden's not great. I don't like him, but he's not Trump. So I feel like it's not that people are voting for that he think is the best candidate. They're voting against the thing that they hate, whether it's the left party or they just hate Trump blindly, right? That's the two things I see. But I'm just going to kind of tell you, like, I know it's, at least the polls are saying it's a close race, but can we trust the polls? Last time it said Hillary was going to win, and look what happened. So I don't really think that's a really trustworthy thing to go into when it comes to the polls. You have to take it with a big grain of salt and get super dehydrated. So get that water ready with your salt you're going to have to take with all this. But I feel like Biden only wins because the media narrative has been spun for people to hate Trump. And listen, some people hate Trump because they do. That's fine. You can have your opinion. Obviously, that's what this country is great for. We can voice how we feel about things. And typically, we can be civil. Except for Trump tells people tried to punch him in the face, and then Antifa actually goes and does that for years. So I think if Trump really wants to win this election, he's going to have to do it by actually pulling out some magic out of his ASS. And I think for him to do that, he's going to have to do an executive order. Now, I want to go into this a little bit because I've heard people say he can't do an executive order for stimulus checks. It's unconstitutional. It's against the law. He can go to prison. He can be sued. But do you think that matters at this point? And let me explain why. If Trump were to give us stimulus checks, it's a win. Because so far, out of both sides of the government, he is the only one giving the appearance that he's stepping up to try to help and that he cares. I'm not saying he does. Maybe this is all one big political ploy. It doesn't matter what his intentions are. I'm telling you how it looks to the American people. It gives the appearance. And people, especially the silent majority like me, they'll vote for that. There are a lot of people who aren't just going to vote on the hate train that the media spins because we know the media lies. They're going to vote on who's done the most action. Do you think Trump gives a flip at this point if it could get him arrested or have issues? No! Because what are the American people going to do if they arrest him or they, try to put him in jail or they impeach him or y'all, I hate to say this, but we'll have a civil situation on our hands that most of us don't want because the American people are going to be like, so we're going to go ahead and punish the man that helped us. And I think you have enough people fired up that will create issues. And what's the left going to do? Are they going to sue him? That's going to make the left look horrible, but I guess they might not mind before an election or after an election, because after an election, What do they have to lose? They're going to try every which way to get him out, but I think it could create a lot of issues. So I could see this going both ways, but if Trump really wants to come out with this, I do believe he's going to have to do executive orders. And that's the thing, guys. At this point, if he did an executive order, somehow, and he says there's a loophole, he says there's money to spend, we know that there is. With the Main Street Lending Program, with the PPP funds, we know all of that's there. We know there's like 400, 500 billion sitting there unused that could be used to help us. So here's what I think. I think if he does an executive order, we're not going to get the checks before the election, which for him is really big. It's his branding, it's the PR, it's the marketing, it's the advertising of him sending you an advertisement. Here's money with my name on it before the election. But if he does, at least it will give him a win in the eyes of the American public before everything happens. However, I'd be real interested to see if the Democrats will spin it and act like he's a criminal now. We'll have to wait and see. This is going to, as I said, this is the stimulus election. This is going to get so interesting. But that's my assessment on it. Now I want to hear what you guys think and what you guys feel. Sound off in the comments if you think I'm in the right direction. Trump's going to have to do executive orders. I don't see a way around this. And we'll see if he does it. I think it's possible. But Trump might also look at this and he might go, okay, guys, so this is too early. It's too soon before the election. What's the point if I can't print my name on the check? Because we know Trump does that marketing. He's got that ego. He wants his name on that check. So it is an interesting concept. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Okay, guys, if you could help me and support my channel, please give me a big thumbs up and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit notifications if you subscribe. Make sure and hit the notification bell so you can be notified what is coming to the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, comments. Sound off. I want to hear everything. Let me know if you think I'm in the right direction. Let me know what you think about all of these people not coming together to help us. I want to hear it. And guys, the more comments you leave, the more it helps me. Leave as many as you want. I'm always happy to have many comments. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you know that are struggling right now. People on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, waiting for stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, and everything in between. Make sure and share this with them because I have tons of tools and tons of resources to help people at this very difficult time. And I would love to help as many people as possible. And it helps me grow the channel. So I am so grateful. Find me on Facebook, Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group, Katie's Corner will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. Go in the group, ask all the questions you want. We're all trying to help each other through this very difficult time. Okay, guys, I'm going to end this video here now. Thank you for sticking with me with all my sound issues. We are trying, fingers crossed. We are super trying to fix it. My poor boyfriend is putting up with my stress of all of this. So grateful to him, and I'm grateful to every one of you that watch me. Every time I end these videos, I remind myself how blessed I am to have the best audience who has put me in the most amazing position, who shows so much care and concern for me. I'm sending you guys so much love, and I'm going to work my butt off to make this channel as successful as I can so I can keep giving back to you guys and bring back those gift cards. Okay, guys, take care. Blessings. Mwah. Bye.